Yodo Toshi here. So Silverwolf apparently got some buffs alongside some of the other characters. I actually have not taken a look at the buffs that Silverwolf received in 3.4. So we're going to do a first impressions and kind of showcase video today. Hopefully she ends up performing way better than she used to be inside the Mono Quantum team, because that's the team we're going to primarily be testing in. And then we'll try some other teams as well, because why not? Now for me personally, Silverwolf is a character that is very close to my heart, because it's a character that is essentially a variation of Bronya. And Bronya, for me, has been the character to actually get me into Hoyoverse games to begin with. So it started pretty much since Honkai Impact 3rd, when they revealed Silverwing, who ended up being a character that got me into the game. I was like, wow, this character looks really freaking good. And ever since then, I've enjoyed every single version of Bronya, whether she's been in Honkai Impact or whether she's been in Honkai Star Rail. I love all the Bronyas, and Silverwolf is no exception. I actually do like her gamer aesthetic too. It's really cool. It's very relatable, right? Obviously. Now, let's take a look at exactly how strong Silverwolf is and if Mono Quantum is still cope. But first, this video is sponsored by Lupar. I was able to save on Stellar Jades with the cheaper prices they have compared to the typical in-game top-up version. The process is very safe and simple, as it takes cheapest conversion currency rate and then presents to you many discounted prices, which you can then use with various coupons to save on an even more amount of Stellar Jades. The transaction is smooth and simple. Enter your UID in the top right corner. Once you choose your preferred method of payment, you will within a matter of moments receive your purchase on Neric shards, which you can then convert to Stellar Jades. One thing I like about Lupar is that you get the first time top up bonus for your Stellar Jades, which is a massive help when it comes to making the videos, because that means more pools for the rate up character. Check out the link in the description to save on your Stellar Jade purchases, and thanks again to Lupar for sponsoring this video. So she's currently at 160 speed, she has 2700 attack, 50 crit rate, 141 crit damage, and she is currently using her 5-star, not best in slot, but 5-star light cone. And then she is still on the quantum sets, just because the quantum set gives her a huge boost in overall damage, although she does arguably give more defense shred now. So I don't know how good this is going to be in combination with her overall defense shred value. And then we also do have the Penacony set, which is a set I have not changed for quite some time, because the only team I used her in was Mono Quantum, which gave the 10% damage boost to everyone on the team of the quantum element. That's why I never changed it, because I only used her in one team. Now, I actually have not taken a look at the buffs, so let's take a look exactly what Silverwolf does. Now, before we do take a look at the buffs, there's a few things I want to mention. The very first thing is that for me, the very first issue I had with Silverwolf as a character back in the day, before the buffs, right? So pre 3.4, was that the character really struggled with getting her ult in the first turn, which has been the biggest issue for the character primarily. Not being able to get the ult in the first turn has made her very hard to use, clunky, compared to some of the other supports that can have their ults pretty much ready to go as soon as the fight starts, which for Silverwolf has been a very big issue since her debut. And the other thing too is that she has only been able to give defense shred on the single target, which means that for a lot of content now, especially with AoE centered content, blast scenarios, she struggled with immensely. You haven't been able to defense shred on the AoE, which means her value drops a ton when you have characters that are giving you damage to disperse amongst those enemies, like for instance Tribby giving you damage that affects all the enemies' hits. You also have characters like Sunday who just buffs your damage overall. There was really no reason to use Silverwolf over a Harmony character, because her values was only affecting one enemy, whereas the Harmony characters buff your damage, which then affects all the enemies you do hit, which gives you a huge boost in damage overall. And the teams you would use her in would be teams like Acheron, but for Acheron teams, Pela was just kind of better, because you had the AoE defense shred, which means that you got more damage out for Acheron in general, and Pela 2 was what covered the niche that Silverwolf did in the Acheron team. And the other character you had was like JQ and later on Cypher if you want to replace Pela or Silverwolf, which means that Silverwolf is eventually ended up being phased out of her best teams. And Mono Quantum was a team that has not been used or has been meta irrelevant for quite some time now. So we'll see if any of these buffs do change those things. And the last thing I want to mention is I'm hoping that Silverwolf's buffs did allude to something a little better in the sense of making the game more fresh in terms of gameplay, I want to see some sort of mechanic with Silver Wolf where if you kill an enemy that has the initial bug effect on them, or any of the defense shred or debuffs in general on that enemy, you kill that initial enemy, the debuffs then spread to the other targets, sort of like a virus, which I mentioned in previous videos regarding Silver Wolf in general. I'm hoping that's the case, because for me personally, that would make the gameplay a lot more fun centered around this character. Now let's take a look. So ultimate can cause an AoE attack. That's pretty nice, right? So AoE defense shred. Skill prioritizes adding weaknesses that match the type of the first character to the team lineup. So she's not any longer restricted to having certain elements in the team. You can have the element of whoever is in your first party slot be the targeted weakness she then draws onto the enemy, right? At the start of the battle, and turn regenerates entry. Easy. Boom. Now she gets turn 1 ultimates. That's actually pretty darn good. Okay. Like for me in general, like after the first turn, it didn't affect me as much because my Silver Wolf does have Eidolons. But if you had a Silver Wolf without Eidolons, you definitely did struggle to continue like getting the character's ultimate as the fight went on. So that was a pretty big issue. But that is honestly really nice. And in combination with her Eidolon 1, unless they changed her Eidolons, it must be really good now. Okay, let's see the adjustment details here. So we already read that. It changes now from, you know, having like a 50% chance of landing the, let's say, quantum weakness instead of like the fire weakness. Now it's like you have the first ally slot. So if you have fire in the first ally, is going to then throw the fire weakness into the enemy, which will, again, we'll do this when we get into the game. Ultimate, okay, so reduces all enemies' defense, which is huge. Now, did they increase the values of the defense you do shred? No, okay, no, it's the same values, but it's AoE. And the ultimate attacks all enemies. That means the damage is going to be kind of crazier for E6, which we do have. We're going to be testing that out. Talent. Okay, so they did increase the values of the defense. Oh, wow, they increased the values of the defense shred by 5%. That is actually pretty crazy. Oh, wait, so now you need less hit rate. Because now the base chance of landing the bug has gone up. So you don't need as much effect hit rate as you needed before. That means now the Silver Wolf sub DPS build actually comes to fruition. I know back in the day I mentioned Silver Wolf sub DPS build, and this is when break effect Silver Wolf was a thing, because break effect was a lot easier to funnel stats into versus putting stats into a sub DPS build with crit rate, crit damage, and effect hit rate. You could just instead funnel all those stats to effect hit rate, break effect, and speed, which was a lot easier to get than having a higher crit ratio on a character like Silver Wolf, if that makes sense. I skipped past this. Oh, guys, I'm going to cry. Oh my god. This is post-video editing Toshi. I literally mentioned this. When the enemy target gets defeated, the weakness Silver Wolf implanted on it will be transferred to another surviving enemy on the field that it hasn't been implanted weakness by Silver Wolf. Oh my god. They actually did give the character that virus effect. I could cry right now. Hoyoverse, I'm going to suck you off right now. No Diddy. Let's see here. The bonus ability. 100% base chance. Yep, so she needs less effect hit right now, which means I might have to change some of my gear around. We'll see. And then regenerates 20 energy when the battle starts. That is huge. Turn 1 ultimate's easy. When Silver Wolf's turn starts, she regenerates 5 energy. Oh my goodness, that's actually really good. In combination, if she still has the same Eidolons that she had before, which she may not, we'll see if they change them. Eidolon adjustment. I didn't read that. I'm so brain dead. I didn't read that. Okay, we'll take a look at that in a second. Side note, what is this here? For every 10% effective rate the Silver Wolf has, whoa, wait, so now she dishes out even more damage. Oh my goodness. We did lose the all-type res, but that was only 3%, which is it's 3%, right? Characters like Tribute give out like 24, 25% by just using the skill, so that's irrelevant. But 50% free attack is actually pretty nice for a sub DPS with an AoE attack, right? Okay, now let's look at her Eidolon adjustments, because I'm actually curious to see what they changed. Okay, so they changed her second Eidolon. So no longer do you reduce the effect res of the enemy by 20%, which does make a lot of sense. This was only really good, I want to say, in those dot teams, because it helped you reduce the stats you needed on your characters. But this was back in the day when Kafka and Sampo were the dot characters you use, right? And Swordwolf was the character that allowed you to dish out more damage on those characters in single target scenarios. So like, do bear in mind, the Eidolon itself is outdated, where nowadays you don't use Swordwolf in dot teams altogether. This is post Ruame, right? Before Ruame did release, Swordwolf was actually a pretty competitive character to use for the dot teams in general, right? So the post adjustment is when an enemy target enters battle, increases their damage taken by 20%. Dang, that's actually pretty good. So just a straight up vulnerability damage percent increase. When an enemy target gets attacked by the allied target, Swordwolf has a 100% base chance to implant one random bug. Wow. So even if you don't attack with Swordwolf, you still can give the bugs on the enemies. That is crazy work. Okay, what about her for Eidolon? Okay, so before blah blah. Okay, so per target. Okay, so so literally they just changed it to now where her ultimate damage for the 4th Eidolon does give you the AoE damage instead of the just like single target damage, right? Because now her ultimate is AoE. So just overall more damage for a E6, Silverwolf, E4, whatever. Oh my goodness. I'm actually ready. I'm locked. I'm loaded. I'm ready to go. So we do have a little bit effective rate, 69%. Of course we have 69%. Maybe I will change it because, I mean, this right here gives me some crit rate. And I do low-key wish they did buff this light cone in this sense and make it a little better, because now the effective rate you get from this is not like it's wasted. You just need to make sure that you don't have any more than what, like it was 50% effective rate, which we have 70%, so we are pushing it. But dang, I feel like now you can probably go a different light cone altogether. Like maybe Good Night and Sleep Well is like pretty good, right? But let's just go ahead and try out Swordwolf with the new buffs. I'm super excited. I know that the video is a little bit longer than it needs to be for the intro part of this video, but I just really wanted to go over Swordwolf's like post buff like adjustments, and then talk about like where she stood and how she was like pre-buff, because like you gotta understand, like the character back then was like super outdated, and the reason why her kit was the way it worked was because the character she was supporting worked with that style of play. Like again, the effective res decrease on the enemies was good for the dot teams, whereas now you're like, why does she have that? If you're like a newer player, well, it's because dot teams back then could use a lot more of the effective rate, and the only character we had was Swordwolf versus like Ruame now, right? This is pre-Ruame. I'm going to actually go ahead and move my camera here so I can show the characters I will be using in the I'll be showing you the characters I'll be using in the showcase here. So this is going to be like a monoquantum variation. I'm going to actually use her with Xingxie, because I feel like Xingxie is actually a lot better now with Swordwolf getting those buffs. So we're going to have a Xingxie Tribi. Well, I think we actually replace Tribi. We bring back Sparkle. So we have a Xingxie, Sparkle, Swordwolf, and Fujuan. And then we're actually going to give the relics we had on our Seele to Xingxie, and we're going to try out Seele as well. Don't worry, we're going to try out Seele, but we're going to try out Xingxie first, because she's going to be the biggest benefiter from the buffs following the 3.4 adjustment for Silverwolf, right? And then I'll skip ahead to where I actually do get to the fight. My heart, man, I'm so excited for this. I've been waiting forever for these Silverwolf buffs. Oh my god. Okay, here we go. Oh, well, they didn't buff that part of Silverwolf, right? Okay, here we go. The one thing about Swordwolf they did buff. Okay, this might take a little bit of the load, because I'll be honest, I do not have the best computer, and Starro lags really badly on my computer. Okay, so we're going to go ahead and we're going to push up Swordwolf. I actually want to see Swordwolf's raw. I want to see Swordwolf's raw damage. She does have the crit rate buff from Fujuan. She'll also have the crit rate buff from her light cone. I do want to see her raw damage though. So we're going to do this here. We get the ultimate in one turn. Oh, she didn't crit the first hit. That's fine. Now she has an AoE ultimate. Oh my god, this is just great. What is that damage? Oh my god. Okay. Wait. Okay, so that means Fujuan is going to hit even harder now, because the AoE defense shred. Oh my god. Okay, wait. Okay. We're going to skip the turn here. Now we're going to try out Xingxie's damage. So we're going to pull. Okay, well that didn't go as intended. That's fine. I'm using DDD anyways, so it doesn't matter what relic set. Excuse me. It doesn't matter what light cone. Like the light cone that gives you damage boost. I'm using DDD, so it doesn't really matter. So we're gonna go ahead and do this right now, so we can get the damage boost. And then we're going to do this here. I want to see Xingshei's raw damage. We didn't get to do the extra damage boost. That's fine. We're gonna hit this guy in the middle because we have the defense shred on this guy as well, if I'm not mistaken. Yeah, there we go. So we're gonna hit this guy in the middle. I mean, she's getting out damaged by Soulwolf, but it is what it is. So we're gonna actually go ahead and do it right now, and then we're gonna see the skill damage afterwards. What the freak? Okay, what's the skill damage? I don't feel like the skill damage is going to be changed that much, but... Okay, that's still a lot of damage though. Remember, you have the attack boost as well for Soulwolf. Oh my god. They actually cooked for this here. Oh my gosh. Wow, okay. I don't know what to say. I think this is like the biggest W we've had in Honkai Star Rail for a while now. My turn order is like completely screwed, but it's fine. It's fine. It's fine. I mean, I feel like you can just run a hyper carry Soulwolf build and just do so much damage because of those buffs, man. I mean, Xingshei just casually did like 700k right there. Like, don't sleep on her either. Oh my god. Hold on. This team is actually back. Maybe I could probably zero cycle with this team, in all honesty. I am very impressed that we cleared this, but I still am a little bit disappointed because it took like 5 cycles to do that. So I mean, like, okay, listen. The buffs are insane, don't get me wrong. It's just that the enemies have so much HP, and in OG Monoquantum, there's only so much damage you do in a single turn, and these characters, aside from Sparkle pushing them up, don't really get that much, like out of turn, like, damage, right? Aside from, like, the ultimate usage, if they have it, if you even want to use the ultimate. So, like, the OG Monoquantum just is still, like, pretty bad compared to, like, what it used to be. But you have to understand that Honkai Star Rail is a completely different game now, right? You have supports dealing a ton of damage, right? So adding to the overall team damage. My Fujuan does quite a bit of damage, don't get me wrong, but you have to understand is my Fujuan is E6, right? So imagine doing this without an E6 Fujuan, you're going to miss out on a ton of damage. Okay, so this is the Seele build we'll be using. This build has not changed ever since I finished it. I finished this way back, like during Penacony. I can't even remember what patch, if I'm being honest, but I finished the character's build for a long time now, and I haven't used the characters since Penacony, if I'm being honest, just because even at E6 S5, she still feels worse to use than an E0 Castoris. But following the Soulwolf buffs, maybe that changes. We'll just have to wait and see. But again, I stopped using this character because, again, compared to E0 Castoris, she has felt a lot more annoying to use as a character in the contents. And it's not really her fault. It's just the state of the game and how much HP each individual enemy has, to the point where it's really hard for her to get resets unless you're using like some super duper hyper carry, like 3 harmonies like setup where you have no sustain, which is not my style play by all means. I don't really enjoy playing the game like that because I like to play the game mostly in auto. That's just me, again, personally. Okay, so we're going to give this to Soulwolf first to start. Ideally in the future, I want my Soulwolf to go first before Sparkle if I was to run a Monoquantum team, or any other Harmony character that goes after her that gives it a advanced order to the next character. So like in this case, Sparkle, right? Sunday, whoever else it is in the future, Saridra, if that character even does that. I would want Soulwolf to go first, and the reason why is because I want Soulwolf to be able to apply the defense shred, and then my damage dealer go after the character that gives the turn order, right? Okay, so we don't really care about skill points in a team with Seele because we already have so many from Sparkle just in general. So like the amount of skill points we get doesn't really matter. So I can spam skills across all of my characters because I'm going to have so many. You're going to see right here. So when I go ahead and press my skill or my ultimate on Sparkle, I get even more skill points here. And then Seele doesn't really use up that many, but she does get a lot of turns, which does matter in the grand scheme of things. I mean, again, that is Seele in 2025, right? It is a little bit embarrassing that that is a character nowadays, but you know what? It is what it is. That's just the state of the game. You can't really be mad at her. It's not her fault. It is not her fault. Okay, we're going to do this again. Again, skill points don't really matter to me. So now we have Defense Shred on all the targets, which means we can then cycle through the enemies faster. I do know the ultimate is going to go ahead and kill this guy. So, like, do I really want to use the ultimate? I should have already softened them up with Fujuan and then went ahead and ulted because I probably could have killed this guy. I mean, do we want to see the damage here? We're going to get an ultimate, so it doesn't really matter. So I'm just going to see how much damage is on this guy. It's going to be the same as the other target. Okay, 414,000 is a lot of damage. That's actually quite a bit. But for single target, like, the skill damage is actually pretty good too, but you gotta remember, right? This is single target damage. So, like, it's just, that's as good as it's going to get, right? But she's getting quite a, like, okay, 2 turns, 414, like, 46 damage, whatever. That's not bad. But it's not, like, crazy either. But it is better than what it used to be post Soulwolf buffs. So it's actually pretty nice. We still do have the defense shred on the enemies here, so we're going to go ahead and just keep doing this here. We are running out of skill points, but we are getting skill points fast with Sparkle, so again, it doesn't really matter. Again, I do believe in this team, Sparkle is the best support to use, because of this amount of skill points we get, right? And then she gives the attack boost to the whole team. Oh, dang. Oh, dang. That was the highest damage ult I've ever had with this character, I swear to God. Okay, so, wow, this actually might just be a lot better than Xing She. But we are using a E6 Soulwolf and E6, you know, Seele. So it makes a lot of sense. Maybe I should use the basic attack because I might have gotten more action forward to then get another ultimate off. Unless he just ends up hitting her, then we might be able to just clutch this with that. I don't know. Wait, should I have done this? I shouldn't have done that. Because then it cost me another cycle. I'm trying to get this as low as cycles as possible, but you know, when you're using a sustain, it does take up the amount of cycles you end up using in the fight. So, you know, for all you zero cyclers out there, you know, I'm sorry, okay? I'm sorry. Listen, that's just not how I play the game. We can go ahead and do this now. That buff is so good. Look at that. I don't even have to use my skill. It's just so good. You can just basic attack. So you get even more skill point generation with this character. That is so good. You know what I want to do? I want to see the damage of Fujuan. So what I'm going to do is I'm actually going to let the enemy make more mobs. And I want to see Fujuan's ultimate damage now with the Soulwolf buff. So I'm actually going to, like, again, we're just going to do that there. I want to see this damage. I'm excited. That hurts. How much damage is Fujuan going to do? We are missing the defense down on one enemy. So it might be a little higher. We can just go ahead and pop it right now. Whatever it is it can be a little higher than what it is right now. But we have so much defense shred. Oh my God. That was the highest ult damage I've ever had with this character. We actually hit 1 million. Oh my God. That's pretty good. That's pretty good. So I guess I could just set this in auto at this point, right? And we're just going to, like, clear this easily. But man, that's crazy. Oh wow, that was a lot of skill damage. 435. Remember, when they are they are weakness broken, you do a lot more damage. So there's that too. I am amazed. This is the best buff I could ever ask for in a character. Like, like, you have to really sit here and think about it, right? You're getting extra damage on Soulwolf. You're getting extra damage on all of your damaged characters in the team. So in a team with multiple damage dealers, you're doing a lot more damage too. So this is just all around a huge buff for everybody, right? And then now she gives vulnerability damage increase, I think is with the Eidolon, which is, like, pretty good. And I believe she gives it with one of her talents, if I remember, when we went over the kit, the post-buff kit, right? That's pretty good. Right? And then the attack boost she gets from having effect hit rate is massive. Her stats could be a little better, but I mean, let's be real here. This is kind of insane. This is just insane for a character that was once, like, half of what she does now. This is a little slower because I'm not, like, playing optimally right, giving Soulwolf the sparkle boost to maximize her damage. So it's not as best as it could be. So the course of cycles are a little slower, and then we got enraged here, which didn't happen before. Unlucky, right? We might even lose this because of that. Well, we have wait. Well, actually, I don't think I have Custoris in the other team, so I think we just straight up die. Yeah, okay. I think we just straight up die. As soon as I put an auto, we die because these mobs suck, man. These are probably the most poor designed mobs in the game. Okay, we do have Custoris. Never mind. Free. Here we go. This is free. I think she's still dead, though. Yeah. But you get the gist, right? You get the gist. The Serwolf buffs has made Mono Quantum, like, I guess for me, viable. But I imagine if you're using, like, let's say you're not using Fujuan, right? And you use, like, a different character, like Tribi, right? Let's say you use Tribi instead of Fujuan. I'm sure your damage will be even higher. And last but not least, we're going to try her out with the Brain Dead Custoris team. And the reason why I say Brain Dead for Custoris is because, let's be real here, this team is super easy to use. It's auto-friendly. You don't have to, the team plays for you, right? You don't have to learn how to manage your cooldowns. When I say cooldowns, like your ultimate, stuff like that, you don't know, like, learn how to do the turn orders, stuff like that. The game plays for you with this team, right? So I'm curious to see how much damage Custoris ends up doing with the Serwolf buffs, because I actually am, like, a little curious. Do I want to... I can only use one. I think it's better to use the Custoris, because we get the bugs initially with Custoris' dragon on the enemy, which means she might actually be really good with Custoris here. I'm going to leave off camera for this one, because I just want to see the... I'm, like, super focused right now, right? Let's see. 300, almost 300k. So we have the bugs on the enemies, right? So now we're going to see, like, this is just, like, maximum damage from the get-go. And then once we get the defense shred, this team will be even better. Let's see. Boom. Skill point consumption in this team is a little bit rough. So we need Serwolf to not be using her skill. She needs to just use basic attacks. So hopefully AI doesn't fail me here. You might have to use this team in auto just because of that. Okay, we have defense shred on AoE. I don't have Custoris' light cone for reference. So, oh my god. Hello? 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 What is that damage? Can you not use your skill, Serwolf? You use your skill, dang it. That actually sucks. So this is without Serwolf defense shred. And when there is another enemy on the field, so the damage is higher in general, even her skill does a lot of damage. My Tribi is E0, by the way. I don't have E1 Tribi. So E1 Tribi will be, of course, more damage. Honestly, E1 Tribi is more, like, Eidolons are more valuable. Like, the first Eidolon Tribi is more valuable than all the Eidolons of Serwolf, honestly. I'm going to be real here. Okay, now we should see the maximum damage here. And we do have the HP buff from Hyacinth, if I remember. I could be wrong, though. No, I think I'm wrong, because that damage is I mean, it's still the damage from before, so maybe that's just going to be the max damage. We're not using our skill in Hyacinth. I mean, again, for a team played in auto, it still is doing really well compared to, like, any other team in auto. Let's be honest here, right? The closest thing is, like, Firefly. But, yeah, this team is doing really well in auto still without being played optimally and missing, like, Hyacinth not getting her skill every single turn. Because Serwolf has to just use her skill instead of basic attacking. Like, what are you doing, girl? You're taking away skill points from the team, man. You're supposed to be the skill point positive character now. You don't need the energy. I think with tutorial, you definitely don't need the energy, but I have E1, so for me, it's like I don't need that. Instead, I can give the vulnerability damage increase on the enemy, and I also increase her own personal damage too, which for me is better. But tutorial and resolution seems pretty good, especially if you're like me and you don't have the Custoris light cone, so it actually feels even better with that. So to skill point, my Hyacinth is really fast though, by the way. She's like 220 plus speed before, like, the artifact. Yeah, excuse me. Before artifact, the relics. Before the relic speed boost from her best in slot relic set, right? We still ended up getting this in the turn cycle though. Okay, here we go. This is max damage. This is max damage. Oh, no. I wanted to see the damage. I wanted to see her explode. Okay, it's fine. That would have been, like, easy 1.5 million damage. That is crazy, though. Serwolf buffs actually made her a valuable teammate in Custoris teams. That is crazy. Oh, my goodness. So there you have it. Serwolf buffs changes everything. She is now one of the best, my opinion, one of the best characters in the game right now because of those buffs. AoE defense shred, high value AoE defense shred, right? 1 turn AoE defense shred, extremely good. Vulnerability damage increase, really good. Eidolon, she becomes even better of a supporter. Own like damage dealer as well, sub DPS. She has personal damage with the 50% attack she is now getting. When you have 50% effective rate, you need less effective rate, which means now you can have a sub DPS build. So even if you don't want to use her on the Quantum set, you can instead use her on the Acheron set, I believe it was, right? The Acheron set, which gives you like crit rate and crit damage, if I'm not mistaken. That set is very valuable in the character. Or you can just give her a generic speed plus speed percent set, right? Like there's like 3 in the sets in the game right now that give you speed percent, so that could be really good in the character. But just in general, she is now a very flexible support, super duper good. I like, again, I'm going to use her in Castorius' team from now on because the AoE defense shred is going to be super nice for Castorius' personal damage. And one more thing to take into consideration is that if you don't have the light cone for Castorius, her 5-star light cone signature, you are getting a ton of defense shred from Silverwolf, which means now the defense ignore you were getting from Castorius' light cone is very valuable still. But there is now you make up for that with Silverwolf's own kits, which feels pretty nice. And I have to say one last thing too, is that now Mono Quantum is somewhat usable. I still think the team does suffer from being a 1.0 team. When I say 1.0, I mean like before 2.0, right? Where characters like Acheron really made the damage go higher. And of course, I didn't show her with Acheron, but I'll show her in a future video with Acheron and any other team. Maybe we'll try out Dot, although I think Dot is still going to suffer from Dot not doing as much damage because the damage ceiling on that team is very low. I mean, like very low because the characters can't crit, right? So like there's only so many ways to buff the damage of Dot characters. Whereas like now with Castorius, you have defense ignore, you have damage boosting, right? So vulnerability, damage amp, you have damage boosting in general, you have HP increase, right? And you have crit. There's just so many ways to buff the resist down, right? You have so many ways to buff the damage of a Castorius team versus a Kafka team. But they did apparently buff Kafka, so we'll check that out as well. Although I'm not very like enthusiastic about that because again, I feel like Dot is still going to suffer from the same things until they release a new Dot character that can maybe crit, which will make that character broken, right? That's it. That's the video here. Thank you for watching and have a nice rest of your day. Thanks again to Loot Bar for, of course, sponsoring this video. And I'll see you all in the next one. Bye-bye.